Hello, I hope you people are doing well. As I said, our next video would be on functions, right? So let's start functions. So in SQL, we need to, for basic SQL, we need to focus on inbuilt functions only, okay? So, so let's start with function. So function is nothing but a block of code to perform some specific task, okay? So in Python also, right, we have functions, user-defined functions. We can have user-defined functions using def keyword. We have inbuilt functions like upper, lower, reverse, etc. like that, right? So in SQL also, in SQL also, you have two types of functions. One is inbuilt, which is like this, what we have in Python, and one is user-defined, this like this. Okay. So for the initials, we'll keep focus on the inbuilt functions. Okay. So what is inbuilt functions? It is a function. So let me define the function first. If somebody asks you what is function, you'll say that it is a set of instruction, a block of code. So it is a block of code. Remember, in Python also, function is written inside a this in this body, right? So it is nothing but a block of code which will perform some specific task. Okay. Now suppose what upper will do, it will change the case of the alphabet into upper, right? Lower, what it will do, it will change the case of the alphabets into lower, like that. So it will do some specific task. So it is a block of code which will perform some specific task. Okay. Now coming to inbuilt function. So by the name only, it is predefined by the developers while creating your software. Okay. While building your software, they have predefined few functions so that it would be easy for us to code. So yeah, so we have two types of functions in SQL. Okay, first is multi-row functions and second is single-row functions. Let's move on to our multi-row functions. So multi-row functions means, by the name only we understand, right? This function will take multiple rows, then it will compute. So it will take n number of inputs and it will give an output as a one record. Okay, it will take n number of input and it will give an output as a one record. Okay, now suppose you have a column salary. Okay, where you have 5 records. Okay, now so what it will do, it will, this mrf, by use mrf function, it will take all the records here, but it will give you output as a one record. Now coming to so mrf also known as group functions or aggregate functions. Okay, we all know in maths also we have aggregate functions, right? So there are 5 type of aggregate functions in our SQL. So first is max. So this is the syntax. Second is min. This is the syntax. Then count, sum, and average. So let's see what max will do. So max will, suppose I do a max of the salary column. What it will give me? It will take all the records here, right? It will take all the records here. But from all these things, what I want the maximum salary. For that, what would be the output based on this column? 5, right? Then I want min of sal, right? So it will give me 1. Then I want count. So count, what it will do, it will count the number of records you have. Okay, so you'll get the record as 5, right? 5 records you have. And sum, what it will do, it will sum all the values here. So sum of cell will give you a 15. Okay, now what will average will do? Average is nothing but count of sum of it by number of it, right? So basically 15 by 5, so your output will be 3. So can you see, in each case you are getting a single output. So this is how your multi-row functions work. So how we will use in a syntax? So we'll write select, suppose I want maximum commission, who's getting maximum commission. So what I'll do, max of commission column from EMP. So I'll get to know from this query that my maximum commission is 1500. Okay, similarly I can use this for sal. Suppose this is the same column, for the same column I'm using a max. So what will be the output for this one? I'll get an output as a 5, right? Yeah, so there are few rules we have to keep in mind while working with the multi-row function. So let's move on to that. First thing, your MRF will ignore the null values. Suppose in this column I have a null also. So if I do a max of sal, it will ignore the null value. If I do a count of sal, it will ignore the null value and give me only 5 records. Okay, ignoring the 6th record, which is a null. Okay, now second thing, while suppose you are writing select employee name and max of sal from your EMP, this will give you an error. Why? Whenever you're using a multi-row function, you cannot pass an argument, which is a column, in in the select clause. Okay, whenever you use a multi-row function, you have to keep a multi-row function only in that select clause. Okay, so later on we can use this also, but along with that we have to use a group also. Okay, so later on we'll, as we move on with this SQL thing, we'll get to know that, but for the time being, you just keep in mind, whenever you want to find a max of something, or you want to use an MRF function, MRF, don't use other columns along with that. Okay, now in the where clause you cannot pass a multi-row functions. Okay, so where max of sal equal to is greater than 5000, this will give you an error. Okay, this thing will give you an error. Why? Because your order of execution works from, first it will execute from, then it will execute where, then it would execute the select clause. So basically it is creating an ambiguity. So it is something like counter intuitive, right? So it is not making sense that you are passing a max of it here only. So you can pass where your salary greater than 5000. So based on this filter condition, it will do a max. That is fine. But you cannot find a aggregated function here. Okay, so always keep in mind, you cannot pass a aggregated function in your where class. Okay, now you cannot pass a asterisk in your MRF. Exception is count. Why? I'll make you understand this. Why? So if I do a max of star, how my select clause will understand for what column you want a max value. Is it a sal column? Is it a ename column? Is it a commission column? For what column you want a max value, right? And for what column you want a min value. So for max, min, and your average and sum, you cannot pass a asterisk. But yeah, for count you can pass an asterisk. So these are the 4 rules you have to keep in mind while working with the MRF. So in single row function, it will take n number of input and give n number of output. Okay, so if I give n1, n2, so nn, so you'll get the output as a like this. Okay, now how it would work, like remember in sal, suppose I have a column employee name. Okay, and I have x, y, z, p, q, r, and a, b, c, like that. Okay, now what I want, I'll apply a single row function here. Select your employee name along with your I want the lower of it, lower of your employee name from EMP. So how will my output, how my output will look? My output will be, I'll get 2 columns. One is employee name and one is lower e name. Okay, and if I want, I can give an alias also. So I can give a lower e. If I'll get a name as a lower e here, alias as a lower e here, so it will be, my column name would be lower e. So I'll get 2 columns here. In the first column I have xyz. In the second column, since I have used a single row function, so what it will do, it will change my name to like this. Okay, so PQR, PQR, so ABC would be ABC. Like this I'll get an output. So for n number of input, you'll get n number of outputs. Okay, now we have few, so single row functions have divided into few type of functions. Okay, so first is character functions. Means in character functions you will manipulate, whenever you want to manipulate some string, right? This is some string, right? So whenever you want to manipulate some string column, we'll go for, or your character or var column, at that time we'll go for character functions. Okay, whenever you want to manipulate something regarding numbers, like salary column or commission column or bonus column, at that time we'll go for number function. For whenever we want to manipulate date functions, at that time we'll go for date function. And there are a few miscellaneous also we'll get to know as we move on with the single row functions. Okay, so let's so just keep in mind, single row function will take n number of input and will give you n number of output, and this is how we write the syntax. Okay, similar to the MRF only, or normal simple query what we write. So in the next part of the video, we'll start writing our and understanding our character function, number functions, date functions, miscellaneous functions using our code. Okay, so for this video, this much only. Thank you so much.